Now that you have a good grasp of some of the basics of building websites, we can get a little more advanced. So, there are two new terms and concepts I need to express. One is client-side, and the other is server-side. So, the client is any device the user is accessing the internet with. Okay, a desktop computer, a tablet, a smartphone, a laptop, whatever. Okay. The server is a reference to the web server that contains the web pages. So up until now, all the things I have taught you are client-side technologies. Okay. In other words, the code is being rendered and displayed on the user's computer, in their browser, on the client side of things. Server-side technologies are a way of programming websites so the web server actually does a little bit of processing and compiling on your code before it turns the code into plain HTML and sends it to the user's browser. One of the most simplistic examples I can give you is the years of experience that I cite on this website. When I mention in various articles that I have been programming websites for 21 years, I don't want to manually update the number 21 every year. So I use a bit of server-side code to do some math. I calculate the current year minus the year I started developing. The server-side language I use is called PHP, which is an abbreviation for hypertext preprocessor. I know. It's another abbreviation that makes no sense. Why isn't it called HTTP? I have no idea. It's called PHP. Although the name is weird, it does do what it says. It performs pre-processing on regular HTML hypertext. Here's an example of the PHP code that I use to change the year. Okay? Now, that block of code appears anywhere that I want 21 to appear on the page. But that's obviously only applicable in the year I recorded this video. Next year it'll say 22, the year after that it'll say 23, and so forth. So obviously the 1998 is the year I began developing professionally. So you could use a similar block of code on your own project. If you build a website for a professional plumber who started in 2005, then you would change the 1998 to 2005, and it would do the same thing, give you the number of 14 years. Now, you may have also noticed the URL of pages on the Girls and Grandpa's website all have file names ending in .php instead of .html. That lets you know this entire website is built on PHP. But PHP is not the only server-side language. There are many others, such as ASP, ASP.NET, Node.js, Java, Python. Now, as I said earlier, the PHP is processed on the server side, and sent to the browser as HTML. Now, why is this so important? Because it means you are getting actual HTML on the page in your browser, HTML that can be indexed and recorded by search engine spiders. Now, you can make JavaScript do similar things, and the users, well, to them, it will appear to be exactly the same in the browser. But JavaScript rendered client-side in the DOM, not the HTML, will not get indexed in search engines. One of the most important things to understand about server-side languages is that they are actual programs/applications running on the server. Therefore, it's not very easy to learn these languages on your desktop computer. In fact, you only have two options to learn server-side languages. Number one, you need access to a server or web host configured to use that language. Or number two, install server software on your own local desktop computer and run the commands from your personal computer as you work on the code. Those are the only ways to do it. Okay, now, some of the newer and more trendy server-side languages are not widely supported, so it can be difficult to find a web hosting provider who will give you shared server space which uses that language. And setting up a server on your local computer is something that can obviously be kind of an arduous task. Now, PHP has a great program called WAMP Server, which will let you run PHP code on a Windows computer. But if you're new to computers, it can be kind of difficult to get WAMP Server configured properly. I'll give you a link to WAMP Server at the end of the article for this essay if you want to give it a shot. So this is why I highly recommend learning server-side languages on the actual web server you will be using to host your website. That is the easiest way, because using that approach, you can be 100% certain all the code is going to work and run because you are learning it in the exact same environment you plan on launching your website. Back in 1998, I began my web development career using ASP, which is an abbreviation for Active Server Pages. So do not confuse ASP with ASP.NET, because they're very different things, just like Java and JavaScript are very different things. Both ASP and ASP.NET were developed by Microsoft, and while ASP.NET remains very popular, ASP is not really supported anymore, so no one really uses ASP. That's one thing you need to accept as a computer developer. Any language you learn at the beginning of your career is likely to be replaced and outdated by the end of your career. So this is why you need to be careful of two important things. Number one, always strive to improve your education and learn something new. And number two, do your best to be savvy and perceptive of trendy technology. Learn useful technology and don't waste your time learning things that will quickly fall out of fashion. The first one's easy, the second one is hard. So now that you have a basic understanding of the power of server-side languages, let's explore some of the basics of PHP in the next video. Once you learn PHP, you'll be fast on your way to building some far more robust websites. And the more you know, the better. The more you can build, the better. The more knowledge you have, the better. Because remember, kids, the world owes you nothing until you create things of value.